The Most High God, and He has all power in His hand, and all God is with us right now. He has all power right now. Say God is, oh my God is holy. He is such a good God. with us right now. He has all the power in all the power in say God is, oh my God, my soul is here. He's such a good yes. He's so holy. And he has all the power. He is oh, yes, so that he nobody like him.
All right, blessings, everyone. Blessings. I have another song here that I want to share with you guys. Happy Hanukkah, Chanukah. It's a season of dedication and rededicating. Um, our ancestors, the Israelites, they rededicated the temple, and we know that there's no standing temple today. However, Paul tells us that our bodies are the temple of Yah. And so this is a time to dedicate or rededicate your body, your life to Yah. Paul also said that we should offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Yah. And so this is a season of offering to Yah something that actually belongs to him in the first place. But we definitely want to make a conscious and determinate effort to offer to Yah what belongs to him. And that is our life, our bodies, our mind, our soul, every single thing about us. We didn't make ourselves. It is he that has made us and not we ourselves. And so we rejoice today for having another opportunity to, number one, honor and respect and then salute Yeshua on this Shabbat, and then to give the highest praise. Can somebody tell me what is the highest praise? What is the highest praise? Do you know what the highest praise is? Does anybody know? What is the highest praise? Well, I'm going to let one person say it. I know that this person kind of strayed away in the faith. However, the song still one of my favorites.
Praise the land of land and on the sea. Praise the God who's coming back for me. Oh, everything we
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I love that song. I love it. I love it. But here's one that I love even more. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. Blessings. Check this out, y'all.
It's either life opens or everyone inside. Jesus Christ. It's a sweet tea.
All right, all right. You know, I love the upbeat songs, y'all, but I'm a worshiper, yo. I'm a worshiper, and I love worship songs. And so I want us to close this worship period out with a song of worship. All right. All right. And so are you guys worshipers too? Do you love worshiping? I remember being a young pastor, probably like a month into pastoring, and I would, as young pastors, we always look and we try to learn from the elders. And some things are good to learn from the elders, and then there are some things that are not so good. But the one thing that I didn't pick up was, and not all of them did this, but during the worship, they would be in the back in the office. And every time I would hear the worship beginning, I would come out of the office and go into the sanctuary and worship. And I've been doing that ever since. And so I want to just continue in worship. Are you a worshiper? And let's worship.
Mercy towards me, your loving kindness towards me, your tender mercies I see day after forever faithful towards me, always providing for me. Great is your mercy towards me. Great is your grace. Help me say out to sing. Great is your mercy towards me. Yes, your loving kindness towards me. always provide great is your want me to your loving heart. Want me to your I see. Want me, want me, great. See, talk to me, your tender mercy. I see day after day. Great is your mercy towards me. Great towards me. Your loving kindness towards me. Your tender mercy. You're always providing for me. Great is your mercy towards me. Great is your is your mercy towards me. Your loving kindness towards me. Tender mercies I see. It's your mercy towards me. Towards me, your loving kindness towards me, your tender mercy I see. Your mercy towards me, Jesus. Your loving kindness toward me. Your tender mercy I see. towards me. You keep on your back for me. See towards me.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Man, the Israelites, man, y'all, we are worshipers for real. I just pray that we would come into the truth, man, that we would all come into the truth of who we really are, who our ancestors are. And we are indeed the apple of Yah's eye. We were chosen out of all the peoples of the world to worship him. He revealed his Torah to us. And I want to say to you and each and every one of you that are watching, either by way of Facebook or YouTube, Chag Sameach Chanukah. All right. Happy Hanukkah in Hebrew. That is our language, y'all. We are grateful to Yah that he has sustained our language and allowed us to be able to know it, to learn it, and to, there was one time in the scriptures where, and we're going to get to that today, where the Hebrew language for the Israelites who were in captivity, their children, so they went into captivity speaking Hebrew. But through years and years of being in captivity, they had to learn a different language. And they taught that language to their children. And so there were many Israelites who were born into captivity that didn't speak Hebrew, but they had to speak a different language, just like us. We had to learn English. That was where we lived. This is where we live. This is the language that we're being forced to speak. Yeah, I said forced. Once you know the history and you understand that we were forced to be here, our ancestors were forced to be here, then you'll understand why I say we're forced to learn this language. And we did. We did. Not very well. Not many of us learned it very well, but we did what we had to do to learn this language. And so, but I want to know our ancestors' language, y'all. I don't want to. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. This bastardized English language confuses me so much. There. Trunk. I mean, I have no idea. And then our babies in school are trying to learn this language. It's confusing them, and it's just, Abba Yah, give us our language back. Help us to grasp and understand this language. This language that, through no fault of yours, Abba, we just we messed up, and now we have to regain it back. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Once again, I do want to say Chag, which means going up to Jerusalem. And this is exactly what Yeshua did. As they rededicated the temple, they had to go to Jerusalem to do that. So that's the Chag, which means going up. Sameach, which means happy. And then Chanukah means dedication or rededication. So we're saying happy Hanukkah on this day as we celebrate our third day. So actually, let's see, Thursday night, that was one. And then Friday night, that's two. And then tonight at sunset will be our third night. So you should have two candles on your menorah or candlestick lit. Tonight, you're going to be lighting the third. You're going to be lighting the third candle from your right, and we're going to go left. All right. So if you're looking at your menorah, and I don't have one in here, excuse me, but if you're looking at your menorah, you're going to have three candles lit at sunset tonight, going from right, or actually going from right to left. Okay. Going from your right to left. Three tonight. Right. And so you should have two in there right now. All right. And so we're going to get started, y'all. We're going to get started with our Torah teaching today. I'm super excited to bring to you our teaching today. And we're going to look at some very interesting things. I always think the scriptures are very interesting, y'all. Y'all going to have to, well, not forgive me, but just bear with me, because I always believe in the teaching and the listening, not only of scripture, but of history. And so I'm geeked out like that, y'all. I'm really geeked out when it comes to history. I love the hearing of history. I love the speaking of history. I love the telling of history and the retelling of it. And so that's why, if you know me, you'll know that most of my books, most of the things that I love to read, will be of a nonfiction nature, which is history, um, Bible, anything that is historically based. I love it, because I'm nosy at the heart of it, y'all. I mean, just boil it down. I'm nosy. I'm nosy, and I want to know. So Shabbat Shalom as well to you. And so we're going to get started, y'all. We're going to get started, and I'm going to play. I didn't get a chance to do this, but I'm going to play a little bit more of the Maccabees. How many of you guys have had a chance to listen to or read the Maccabees? How many of you guys have had a chance to do that? If you haven't, I do recommend, man, that you read this as history. Read this as history, because it gives you, like I said, Thursday night, it's going to give you context of the times that Hanukkah took place, the first Chanukah took place. It's going to give you the background, what was happening. And then you got to understand that, as a source, you got to understand some things, that there are at least 3 different kinds of sources. How many of you guys know what kinds of sources, or the 3 sources, historically speaking? Do you know what the 3 kinds of sources are, or one of them? Okay, so we have primary source. Primary source is a source that the person who is telling you the story or the history, giving you an account, they are giving you a firsthand account of the events. In other words, they were eyewitnesses to the times of the events. And so primary sources will include certain kinds of evidence within the actual contents of the source. And so these are things that, are very, very important to learn as you're reading and studying the scriptures. Can someone give an example of a primary source? What is an example of a primary source? It's very, very important little mini quiz. What's an example of a primary source? Okay. So we have artifacts. Artifacts are examples of primary sources, which we have a lot of those. There's different kinds of artifacts. There's coins, there's pottery, there are weapons. There's all kinds of artifacts that people find, and they dig these things up in what is called the Holy Land, and other places. You know what you should do with your children today? You should go into your backyard and just as a reminder of Hanukkah, you should go ahead and bury a menorah. I would bury a menorah or bury a picture of it, and then explain what the menorah is, explain why. And then what you could do is wrap it in a piece of paper. And on that piece of paper, you could explain what a menorah is, why it was written, or why the menorah was used. Give all the detail. You give the date today. You give today's date. You explain that Hanukkah is a rededication. Explain all about Hanukkah so that if someone were to look this up in 100 years, they would be able to figure out and know exactly what was going on during 2023. All right. And so, what are some other kinds of primary sources? What about eyewitness? Okay, eyewitness. An eyewitness is a primary source. It's a person who was living, breathing during the times that the events took place, and they can give you a first person account of what was happening from their perspective. They can give an account of what was happening during that time. All right, so that's primary source. Second one is a secondary source. Okay, a secondary source is a source that was created. Okay, it was created by someone else who didn't live during that time. So it was created by someone who didn't live during that time. Um, they didn't have firsthand or eyewitness knowledge. They didn't participate in the events or the situation or the action that was taking place. Um, and so, yeah, that's a secondary source. And secondary sources usually they summarize the event. Okay, they give a summary, or they can give an interpretation, or they can give an analysis. They can analyze and break down what was happening, and they can comment on the situation. Okay, and they can definitely give you. So, for example, if someone knows you and you did something in history, you made history by doing something. You were, let's say, playing in a football game, but a primary source is a parent that went to the game. A secondary source is someone like an uncle who lives in a different state that was told about the game. And so when he recounts and tells the story to his family about his nephew or niece that did this great thing in this sporting event, or did this great thing in this debate, or whatever the case may be, when he tells the story again, he is a secondary source. Come on and go with me, guys. He's a secondary source. Okay. And can anyone give me an example of a secondary source? Different kind of secondary source. Okay. All right. Well, the third kind of source is what is called a tertiary source. And tertiary sources will oftentimes take the primary source, secondary sources, they'll put all of these things together and they will come up with an explanation or certain kinds of materials that you could read to have an idea of what was happening during that time. All right. And, they can list certain qualities, list certain facts about the events. They can summarize it also. And basically, what they're doing is they're repackaging the ideas from the primary and secondary source. And so, examples of that, you can have an encyclopedia um, that will organize information alphabetically, um, all kinds of um, tertiary sources that excuse me, that you can definitely use. All right. A dictionary. Dictionaries are actually tertiary sources because they consolidate information alphabetically also. Um, and so, yeah, know the three different kinds of sources, y'all. Know the three different kinds of sources and then pay attention to what kind of source this is. When I say this, I am referring to the book of Maccabees. Now, the book of Maccabees was written in about 100 BC. It was written about 100 BC. And so once you know when the events took place, once you know the dates, then you can determine if the book of Maccabees, what kind of historical source is it? Is it a primary source, secondary, or tertiary? All right. And so that's going to be your homework. Those of you who enjoy history and like getting geeked out with me, maybe that could be a homework assignment for you. That could be a good family assignment too. Biographies, absolutely. Biographies are definitely tertiary sources. And then sometimes they could be, it depends on, they could be primary sources too. A biography, um, well, can a biography be a primary source? If a biography can be a primary source, if um, the person writing the biography, if they're interviewing the actual person that participated in the event. Come on and go with me here, y'all. So biographies, yes. Autobiographies are primary sources, yes. An autobiography is a primary source. Okay, I see Sister Ben said primary, secondary, and tertiary. So okay, so she had the three, and then Brother Kevin, or Sister Elizabeth, parts of the Bible can be primary sources. Absolutely, because there are actual books that were written firsthand by the individual that witnessed the events, like Brother Paul, the Apostle Paul. Now, here's another thing, y'all. You got to take into account that a lot of people who are of European descent, they despise many of them. When I talk about people of European descent, I'm not talking about your common people. I'm talking about academics, people who are considered scholars. A lot of your academic and European scholars, they look down upon um, oral tradition. Come on and go with me here. And so, yes, Egypt was one of the first to write, but we got to look at Sumer also. Sumer was one of the first civilizations to write also, and that's where Avraham came from. Avraham came from Sumer, um, and we got to look at the fact that Israelites, they were a oral tradition civilization. They now people look down upon that because they bring this argument up. They say, well, you know how the telephone game is. You tell one person one thing, you tell it to another person, you tell it to another person. By the time it gets back to the original person, it's a completely different story. Guys, listen, that is an anachronism, and that is an anachronic way to describe oral tradition. Don't disrespect our history and our culture by comparing it to the telephone game. Serious? And we're going to let them do that to us? Listen, or you need to look, I recommend that you study up, that you study what oral tradition is. That, yes, a historian, Brother Woodfin, yes, because historians they would be considered, some of them could be like Tacitus, who wrote during his times of the events that were happening during his times. And so, yes, historians could either be primary, secondary, or tertiary. Okay. And so we just got to know, when did they write? Did they write during the times? Like, for example, excuse me, Tacitus um, lived from 56 AD to 120 AD. Okay. And so what time did he live during? You think about Yeshua, all right, he lived during Yeshua's time. It was a little bit after, maybe 20 years after. He was born about maybe, 20 some years after. But he lived during the first and a little bit of the second century. Okay. And so any events that happened during those centuries, he could be a primary source. For example, when was the temple destroyed? The final last temple destroyed. When was it destroyed? In 70 AD. And so Tacitus was living during that time. He was about maybe 15, 14 or 15 years old when that happened. If he was born in 56, all right, 56 to 70 is 14 years. So he was about 14 years old when the destruction of the temple happened. All right. And he lived in Rome. And so his people, come on and go with me, y'all. His people, when he was 14 years old, they destroyed the temple in Jerusalem in 70 AD. All right. That's just like you take a 14-year-old today who's living today. And if the United States went to war with another country and destroyed that country, then that 14-year-old would be able to remember. They would be able to understand what was happening, and they would be able to speak and write on it. And if they wrote anything about that war that the United States had, that 14-year-old would be a primary source. Whether they wrote about it when they were 14, whether they wrote about it when they were 21, whether they wrote about it when they were 30, 40, or 50, the fact that they lived during those times makes them a primary source. All right, so gotta move on. I spent an awful lot of time on that, but I think it was helpful if you learned from it. All right, so today, guys, we're going to be looking at the historical setting of Hanukkah, Guys, please take out your notes, pen and pads, computers. If you're taking notes on computers, if you're taking notes on your phone, go get your Bible. You're going to need your Bible today. Also, you can look up the book of Maccabees online. If you don't already have a copy, my copy is not here with me. It's in the other room, but we do have one online that I will be sharing with you today. All right. So we're going to listen to, we're going to listen to the book of Maccabees from the first chapter. And today we're talking about the historical setting. On Thursday, can anyone remember what we talked about on Thursday? Okay. Anyone remember the title from Thursday? All right. Okay. So Thursday, we looked at the historical validation of the biblical Hanukkah. We looked at how history agreed with the scripture and validated the biblical account. Okay. And so what that does is it helps us a lot because we can say that reality, okay, confirmed what was happening in the Bible. And so that makes the Bible reality. Y'all don't want to go with me here. It is not a mythical book. It is not a fictional book. It is a reality that the biblical accounts of Hanukkah took place in John 10 and 22, the Feast of Dedication or the rededication of the temple. All right. And so we know that the events that when Yeshua entered that temple to celebrate the feast or the Hag up to Jerusalem, to walk into that temple, John 10 and 22 says, and it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication or Chanukah, and it was winter, and Yeshua walked into the temple of Solomon's porch. Okay, he went into the temple to celebrate what we are celebrating this week. All right, which is Chanukah. All right, and so history validates the biblical account of Hanukkah. And so today we're going to be looking at the historical setting. Coming up Tuesday, we're going to be looking at the prophetical connections in Hanukkah. We're going to look at the prophecies that were spoken of by Hanukkah, of Hanukkah. And we're going to mainly be in the book of Daniel, and look at, just some prophetical connections. Also, we're going to be in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, because Yeshua spoke about the abomination of desolation, which is referring back to the book of Daniel. As he was teaching, Yeshua was actually prophesying about what was going to happen, that happened in 70 AD. Okay. And so, but not only that in 70 AD, but also the final abomination of desolation, which is in the book of Revelation that we're going to get to as well. So we're going to be looking at some things in the Brit Hadashah on this coming Tuesday. And then next Thursday, the 14th, we're going to be looking at hidden figures in Hanukkah. And we're going to look at the individual players. We're going to be looking at the Maccabean family. We're going to look at Mattathias, or Mattiyahu is his Hebrew name. We're going to look at Pinhas, or Phineas in English. And we're going to be showing some interesting things about these hidden figures of Hanukkah. All right. And then we're going to close out next Shabbat, next week, with our mission. What is our mission in Hanukkah? All right. And so today, y'all, we're going to be looking at the historical setting of Hanukkah. Okay. And so we're going to definitely go ahead and get started here. And I do want to show you, as we listen, I want you to listen to this, guys. All right. Blessings.
The first book of the Maccabees. Chapter 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chetim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died. And his servants bare rule, every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years.
Okay, I want to stop right there. Because it says in verse 9, I want you to see this. After his death, after Alexander's death, Alexander the Greek, please don't say great. Okay, y'all? Please don't say great. Stop saying that. That's a slave mentality to label him as as great when we can't even name any of our great military leaders. Okay, you shouldn't be calling someone else great when you can't even name any of the great leaders that came from our ancestors. All right, military leaders. All right, and so call him Alexander the Greek. But look at verse 9 when it says, after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them. Many years and evils were multiplied in the earth. Okay. And then verse 10 says, and there, wait, let's see, let me play it again.
And evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Okay. And so I want to go back. I want to jump to this lesson, y'all, and really get into the history in this lesson. And I'm going to give you guys the link again to this reading. I'm going to put it in the chat for you, and you can definitely share it. You can use it, enjoy it. And so there it is in the chat. All right. Thank you, Sister Dance, for sharing about Chanukah and what that means. Yes. So in the Hebrew and in the Greek, Chanukah means dedication or rededication. Okay. And this is why we say Chag, which means to go up to Jerusalem, Sameach, which means happy, and then Chanukah. Okay. And so happy going up to rededicate the temple. Happy celebrate or celebration for going up to the temple. All right. And so I want to jump right in. I want to jump right in and deal with what we see here in the text. And so I want to now, so we took the history from Maccabees. Now let's go into the scriptures. So go with me to Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8. All right. You're going to need, guys, you're going to need your pen, pad. You're going to have to take notes, copious notes, guys, because we're going to be moving fast. Now, if you see, here's the thing. In order to retain, come on, go with me here. See, we got some educators in the room. We got some educators. So y'all know. So I'm using multiple teaching styles. Okay. I'm summarizing. All right. I am showing visuals. You guys know I'm big on showing visuals and maps. I'm going to have that as well. I do a lot of repeating. And so I'm using multiple teaching strategies to help us to retain the information. All right. And so you got to help yourself too. You got to say, now, wait a minute. I need to make sure that if he's going that far to help me retain it, then how far do I need to go? Well, you need to go as far as writing it down. You need to ask, hey, can you repeat that? And many of you are good at doing that. And so don't stop. If something that was said or something I said didn't resonate or you didn't get it the first time, listen, guys, that's okay. That is lit. We want to make sure we get it. And so if you need to stop and ask me a question or to put it in the chat, awesome. Do that. All right. So let's go to Daniel chapter 8. And we're going to look at what was spoken in this video. Okay. We're going to look at what was spoken in the video, what was told, what was said in the video. All right. So Daniel chapter 8, let's look at verse 3. Okay. Says this, then I lifted up my eyes. This is Daniel talking. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had two horns. All right. Now let me tell you that this ram that is being spoken of, okay, I want you to write this down. The ram in verse 3. So go ahead and write Daniel 8, verse 3. And then I want you to write the ram is the Medo-Persian Empire. The ram is the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay. Now, you know, we show and prove at Congregation Rehoboth. We don't just say stuff without, having any proof. And so the proof is going to come. Okay. So the ram is the Medo-Persian Empire. All right. And if you guys can go ahead and put that down. The ram is the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay. So my cousin Robert said he got this downloaded on his iPhone, man. And so awesome. I'm gonna have to get that on my phone as well. I have to put that on my phone also. But absolutely. All right. And so the ram, get this down, y'all. The ram is the Medo-Persian Empire. Now, who was in charge of the Medo-Persian Empire? We just listened to it in the book of Maccabees. It said that Darius, okay, was destroyed by Alexander the Greek. All right. And so we see that the ram in verse 3, it says, then I lifted up my eyes and I saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns. Okay, now watch this. This is very interesting. It said it had 2 horns, and 2 horns were, watch this, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. Now, what is he referring to here? Okay, let's go to the lesson. Let's go to the lesson. Okay. The 2 horns. Okay, so we see in verse 3, it said there were 2 horns. Now, let's go to verse 20 in the book of Daniel. Look at this in the book of Daniel, verse 20. Are y'all there? Go to verse 20. Can someone read that out loud if you're able to? Can you read that out loud so that we could all hear you? Daniel, verse 8. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 20. You know what? I'll read it. I'll read it, guys. I just wanted to get some participation. Oh, okay. Hold on. Thank you. Wait a minute. Let me, I got so much going on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Can someone go ahead and read verse 20 for us?
Yes. Sorry, I got too much feedback.
Okay.
Sister Elizabeth, if you guys are in the same room and you're both logged on, one of you guys has to mute yourselves and then it shouldn't be feedback.
Yeah.
I turned the volume all the way down on one device, and if you guys want to share, you'll have to share from that other device that's not muted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Sound clear. Sound good.
Okay, 20. 8 and 20. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
Okay, so you see that. It tells you right there. The 2 horns we read about are Media and Persia. Tells you right there. Now that's historical. You can go on take any history class, world history, and you can find this out. Once again, the scriptures are being validated by history. That's why when we say the scripture, y'all, you have to be a history geek also, because it gives you a context. All right, which validates the teaching of the scripture. All right, so that was in Daniel 8 and verse 20. Now go to Daniel 5 and 31. I'm going to show Daniel 5 and 31 because now we need to know, well, which one was which, because the scripture says that it was one that was higher than the other. Verse 3 said one was higher than the other. Now go to Daniel 5 and 31.
And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
Okay, so Darius was the king over the Mede or the Medo Empire. You see that?
Yes.
Darius the Median took the kingdom. So he was over the Medo-Persian Empire. Darius was the king of the Medes. All right. Now, I want to show you another one. Go to Daniel 6:28. Daniel 6:28. Okay. Daniel 6:28 tells you some very interesting things as well. Okay. About who was over the Persian Empire.
So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian.
Okay, so we have the two horns. Who are the two horns? Who are the individuals, the persons, the people, the historical people that lived, breathed, and died? Who are those individuals that are the two horns?
Darius and Cyrus?
Darius and Cyrus. And so these two kings are being testified about in history as being the leaders of the Medo-Persian Empire. Cyrus was the Persian king, and Darius was the king of the Medes. All right. Those were the two horns. In Daniel chapter 8, verse 3, I'm going to show you that again because we need to understand this. So are you writing these notes down, guys? That there were two horns. Okay.
Yes, we are writing down the.
Awesome. Awesome. So it says here, then Daniel said, then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram. So the ram was the Medo-Persian Empire. And then it says, which had two horns. The two horns are the Medes and the Persians. All right. And King Darius was the king of the Medes, and King Cyrus was the king of Persia. Okay. Those were the two horns. All right. Now let's keep reading. And verse 4, and I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Now, in the scriptures, they're referring to the beasts or beasts as these kings or rulers. All right. So a president, a king, a queen, those positions are referred to as beasts in the book of Daniel. So that no beast might stand before him, or so that no king or kingdom might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. Speaking of the Medo-Persian Empire. And then verse 5, and as I was considering, behold, an he-goat. So now we have a ram and then we have a goat. A he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram and the two horns, which I had seen before, which I had seen standing before the river, and the ram, and he ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram. Who's the ram again?
Medes?
It's the Medo-Persian Empire.
Yeah,
Yep. Medo-Persian. So he came close to the Medo-Persian Empire, and he was moved with choler against him, or anger against him, and he smote the ram. He killed the ram, and he brake the two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and he stomped upon him. And watch this, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Now, let's go back to I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you this. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Did you identify the goat? You said
Not yet. Not yet. I'm going to right now. Not yet. I'm going to right now. I want you to listen to this one more time. Okay, so do you see that, right?
Are you playing something? I'm not sure if my sound is on.
Okay, hold on, guys.
Oh yeah, we didn't hear that. Sorry.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Yes, we hear.
First, yes,
Can you turn it up a bit?
and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian,
I
who
think it's all
came
the way
out of
up.
the land of Chetim, had
It's all the way up, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I hear it. Go ahead.
smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Okay, so we see the book of Maccabees, which is a historical document. It's telling us that Alexander the Greek, he came and he destroyed the ram. That's what the book of Daniel, chapter 8, verses 3 through, 12 tells us. Okay? But watch this, guys. Go to Daniel 8. Uh-oh. Man, I know I didn't just do that. Okay, that's all right. Go to Daniel chapter 8. And let me share my screen. And then go to verse 20 tells us that the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of the Medo and Persia. We know that's Darius and Cyrus. But look at verse 21 of Daniel 8. Can someone read verse 21?
Daniel 8:21. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
Now watch this. Daniel is saying the same thing as, sorry guys, I erased my book of Maccabees here. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Bear with me. Bear with me, y'all.
I do have
Don't-
another a quick question. That's kind of so the a little bit back to the Medo-Persian. So that's just two different empires that have combined, I'm assuming, but in that are in the same area.
I'm sorry, sister. Say that one more time.
Yes, the Medo-Persian Empire. That's two different great empires who combined together, and they were both ran by Darius and Cyrus the second.
Well, we know that Darius was the king of the Medes,
Okay.
and Cyrus was the king of the Persians.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the two horns. And so Darius ruled at one time period, and then Cyrus ruled at a different time period.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes. And so we're gonna see that as I show you, because it tells us that one king, one of those horns was higher than the other. You remember that?
Yes.
And so we're gonna see that right now. Let me show you that right now in Daniel chapter 6. But I just wanted to show you before we go to 6 in Daniel 8, because you asked who was the king of the Greece. Okay, so watch this. Daniel 8:21 says, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. That says the same thing as the book of Maccabees.
Can you go back to Maccabees and show it again? Because I think when you played it before, we couldn't hear it.
Okay, here you go.
The first book of the Maccabees, chapter 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chetim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Okay, And so we could see that this is what's being said in Daniel 8, chapter 8, verse 20 and 21. The ram, which saw as having two horns, are the kings of the Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Greece. The great horn is between his eyes, is the first. Watch 22. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power. So we're going to get to verse 22 in a second, but I want to go to verse 21, and it shows you that the king of Greece destroyed the king of Medo-Persia. All right. So remember our last Thursday, I showed you guys this. Remember, I showed this to you guys on Thursday. Okay, so we have the king of Babylon, which was Nebuchadnezzar, the head of gold. Then we have next the Medo-Persian Empire with Darius and Cyrus. Then we have Alexander the Greek, who was the king of Greece. All right. Okay, we see that. And that's exactly what history is telling us. And that's exactly what the scriptures are telling us. And the book of Maccabees, which is a historical document, a historical source, is telling us as well. Okay. And so this is definitely important for us to note and take note of. Now, when we talk about let me show you just this map really quick, because I want you guys to see where these areas are. Okay. Can you guys see this map? So see down here,
Yes.
at the bottom in the green, this light green area, see all this area? That was the Medo-Persian Empire, all this light green area. Okay. And if you go down to the left, see where can you guys see my mouse? I don't know if you can see my mouse. Hold on.
No.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, see this area, the Media, and then Persia. So these were two great cities next to each other, close to each other. And so you had these two kings reigning either out of Media and then one out of Persia. And so these two areas, the rulers came out of these areas and ruled the entire area, all this entire area in green. Okay. And so if you come over here, you can see Egypt in the orange. And if you come over here to this like burgundy red color here, you can see this is Jerusalem. Judah is all in this area. Babylon, Assyria, all in this area. Okay. And so we're gonna get to some important information here. And I'm gonna share a little bit about why Cyrus was considered, why his horn was considered higher. Okay, I said I was going to get back to that. So let's go to why was his horn higher? Can someone take a guess? Why do you think Cyrus's horn was higher than Darius?
Did he have more area? Was there more area that he was ruling?
Okay, that could be one reason why his was higher. Anyone else? Why do you think that Cyrus's horn was higher? Let's go to the book of Ezra. Ezra chapter 1. And we're going to look at this, all right? Because we want the Bible to really speak for itself, and it does. And so we want to know, why was Cyrus's horn higher than Darius? So Ezra chapter 1, and then verse 2. Okay. Can someone read verses 2 through 7? And then I'll move it up for you.
Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem. And whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with silver and with gold and with goods and with beasts, beside the free will offering for the house of God that is in Jerusalem.
Okay, sister, stop right there. I'm going to go to verse 7, and you can read verse 7.
Also Cyrus the king brought forth the vessels of the house of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had brought forth out of Jerusalem, and had put them in the house of his gods.
Verse 8.
Even those did Cyrus king of Persia bring forth by the hand of Mithridath the treasurer, and numbered them unto Sheshbazzar the prince of Judah.
Okay, 9.
And this is the number of them: 30 chargers of gold, 1,000 chargers of silver, 29 knives, 30 basins of gold, silver basins of second sort 410, and other vessels 1,000.
All right. So you can see why. Why do you guys think Cyrus, his horn was higher based on what Sister Elizabeth read?
That's a lot of money.
He was balling.
Yes, he was. He was definitely. Well, wait, was he balling, or what did he do? What makes you say he was balling, Sister Benz?
I mean, he had a lot that was given to him. Yes.
Yes, but what did he do with it? What did he do with it? Look at verse 2.
He built a house in Jerusalem.
Okay.
He built a temple.
All right. And then verse 3, who is there among you of all people? His God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem, and whosoever remaineth in any place where he sojourneth, let the men of his place help him with the silver and gold, and with goods, and with beasts, beside the freewill offerings, for not Cyrus, but for what?
For the house of God, for the temple.
You see that? You see how they put Yah? And this is not, look at this guy. He's not even an Israelite. He's a Gentile. Let me tell y'all something. What a shame it is for Gentile people to know and do more right than the Israelites. You know any people like that? You know any wicked people who are Israelites that live their life in a wicked way, but then you got unbelievers who don't even go to church, who don't even love Yah, who don't even confess Yeshua, and they live better than Israelites who are supposed to be the chosen of Yah.
My, oh my.
You see how that works? You got unbelievers who are more honest, that will tell you can trust. Watch this. Sometimes you can trust your babies with unbelievers easier than you can with folk who go to church with you or say that they're believers. You know some people in church you wouldn't trust your children with. Come on and go with me here. Y'all know that's you know I'm telling the truth. So you have this Cyrus, the king of Persia, who is charged with building the house of the Lord. Now, why did he have to build it? Why did he have to build it? All right, we're going to get into that. All right, let's go to Daniel chapter 8. Why did he have to build it? We're going to get into that. We're going to get right into it. Chapter 8, and then go to verse 19. So 19. Then we're going to look at some things that happened. All right.
Daniel chapter 8:19. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed the end shall be.
All right. Now, what is he talking about here? Okay. Let's go back to the book of Maccabees, and we're going to let it play a little bit longer.
Won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died.
Okay. So verse 6 says in the book of Maccabees, wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and then he parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. Okay, now let's go back to our lesson. All right. And so I want to bring your attention to Alexander's kingdom. Before he parted his kingdom up, I want you guys to know that after the conquest of Alexander the Greek, which he lived but his conquest was from 336 to 323. That's 12 years. Let's see. Yep. I want you to know that what Alexander did was he made the language of Greek the official language of all the kingdom. Okay. What he did, all this yellow, guys, all this yellow right here, he made everybody in all of these areas speak Greek. It's called Hellenization. Okay, you should write that down. Hellenization. All the people, and it doesn't just mean speaking the language. In other words, what he did was the same thing as what the United States does and is doing. Do you know that English is the primary language in other countries besides the United States and England? Why is that? Because it's been Englandized. Okay, it's been Hellenized from a English standpoint. Same thing that the United States did is the same things that Greek did, that Greece did. Okay, they exported their culture throughout the entire empire. That's why you can go to other countries and you will know that English is either the first or the second language. Okay. Does anyone know any countries like that?
Canada.
All right. Canada. Exactly. They also speak French. Okay. Australia. English is the first language. Scotland. New Zealand.
Pastor Vince,
Yes.
can you share a copy of the lesson in the chat, please?
Oh, yes.
And make it non-editable, just like a copy.
Okay, definitely. You want me to do that now, or you want to wait till after?
Someone requested it, so whenever.
Later,
Okay.
so.
Okay. So let me Okay. All right. Give me a second. I like to do it right now since, all right. There we go.
Thank you.
There we go. Blessings. Okay. And okay, so what Alexander did was he Hellenized the entire kingdom. That means that Greek culture was exported to every place where his kingdom stretched. And what that meant was the Greek language. The Greek language went as well. Okay. And so, do you know that the very first translation of the Hebrew Bible was made into Greek? It was made into Greek, and it's called the Septuagint. Okay. The Septuagint is the Hebrew Bible, the book of Genesis to the book of Malachi, the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, the original language of the Israelites stopped being spoken during the exile and post-exile periods, when they went to Babylon, when they went to Syria, and when when the Medo-Persian Empire came in. By the way, the Medo-Persian Empire, they speak Aramaic. Okay, the Assyrians, all those. Remember the map I just showed you? I want to show you one thing. All of this area, Assyria, Medo-Persia. Okay, see these ones in bold writing? Assyria, Medo-Persia. Babylon is somewhere in here also. It's not showing it, but Babylon is somewhere over here as well. Surprised they're not showing it on this map. Okay, but Babylon is definitely in the same area. Okay, I don't know why they're not showing it. Okay, so all this entire area, they spoke Aramaic. Okay, and so Greek replaced Hebrew for the Hebrew speaking people when Alexander took over. But before Alexander took over, Hebrew wasn't being spoken, but Aramaic was being spoken. Okay, and so watch this. Aramaic became the lingua franca, or the common language of our ancestors, y'all. Okay, our ancestors didn't speak Hebrew anymore, but they spoke Aramaic. When Babylon took over, they spoke Aramaic, and I'm going to show you that. And when the Medo-Persian Empire took over. So if you think about all those years of not speaking Hebrew, they had to learn a new language. They had to teach their children Aramaic. And then when Alexander came in, after Babylon, Medo-Persia, the language that replaced Aramaic was Greek. So when we talk about Alexander, he was definitely an influence. But I do want to show you how Aramaic took over from Hebrew. Go to Daniel chapter 2 and 4. Daniel chapter 2, verse 4. I want to show you this. Actually, let's see. Can someone read verses 2 through 7? Oh, can you open your Bible and read Daniel chapter 2?
2 through 7. Oh.
Verses 2 through 7. Yes. Can you open your Bible and read Daniel 2?
Then
chapter
the
2,
king,
verse 2 through 7. Sorry about that.
Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. But if you show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore, show me the dream and the interpretation thereof.
Okay. Now, if you go back to verse 3, in chapter 2, I want you to see, actually not verse 3, sorry. If you go back to verse 4, notice what verse 4 says. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in what language?
My version says Syriac.
Okay, does anyone have a different version that says something else? I'm going to show y'all this. Then I'm going to show you something else. Okay, you see how Syriac is right there, right? Look at the New King James, though. I'm going to try to put this large enough so you can see it. Okay, look how the New Syriac says Aramaic. You see that? Where are they getting that from? Look at the New Living Translation, Aramaic. Okay, the NIV doesn't say anything in NIV. Interesting, huh?
Did Jesus speak Yeshua speak Aramaic as well?
Yep. I'm gonna take you to the passage where he definitely spoke that. All right. Look at ESV, Aramaic. CSB, the Chaldeans spoke to the king, Aramaic. And so when he said this, may the king live forever, he said that in Aramaic. Okay. Now, how do you know that, Pastor Benz? How do you know that Syriac is Aramaic? Number one, when I was doing my master's in religion at Cal State Long Beach, I took Syriac. That was one of my required languages that I chose in order to graduate with a master's in religion. And at the time, I didn't realize how close Hebrew was to Aramaic. So you see this Hebrew word here, aramit. Okay, that's what in the Hebrew, aramit is the word Syriac in the English. So in English, they said Syriac, but the word is aramit in Hebrew, right? And so if you look here, the word Syriac is Aramaic language, the language of Aram. Okay. And so now when Yeshua was on the cross, does anyone remember what he said in Aramaic? Does anyone remember? Okay, go to Matthew 27. Go to Matthew 27.
Something about forgiving.
Say one more time.
I haven't gotten to it yet, but something about forgiving them for they know not what they're doing or something like that.
What chapter?
Oh, yes. Matthew 27, and then verse 46, I believe. Yep, verse 46. Okay. So this phrase that's highlighted, okay, is Aramaic. Okay, that's Matthew 27, verse 46. That is Aramaic, y'all. He's asking a question in Aramaic. That's why it says, that is to say, or some Bibles may say, being interpreted, because it's in the Aramaic. Okay. And so this is very important. Also, I'm gonna show you another passage. Does anyone know how to say son of in Hebrew?
Ben.
Ben, right? So let's go to Matthew 16 and 5. I'm going to show you something else. Matthew 16 and 17. Sorry, Matthew 16 and 17. Let me pull it up right here. Matthew 16, 17. Just to prove that Yeshua spoke Aramaic to his disciples. Okay. Matthew 16 and 17. Okay. You guys see that? If you look at that verse, if you look at that entire verse there, see how it says, and Yeshua answered them, or answered unto him? What did he answer? When he answered, he spoke in a certain language. Okay. He said, he didn't say Ben Jonah or Yonah. He said Bar. Why did he say Bar? Because it's Aramaic, y'all. It's Aramaic. Okay. Now, what's the deal with the Aramaic? What's the deal with the Aramaic? Okay. We're going to get to that. You can look this up, but I'm just going to mention it real quick. During this time, from Daniel's time, when our ancestors had to learn Aramaic, Aramaic was the common language. It was the common language. It was the lingua franca. Remember we said lingua franca right here?
Can I ask a question real quick?
Oh, yes.
Just to show the people, can you go back to the blue letter and go on the tools and show that it's of Aramaic? Just so
Oh,
that I
yeah.
can see. Please, thank you.
Now, which section would you like me to go to? Which
Matthew 16, 17 is where it says Barhona.
Matthew Bar-Jonah. Okay.
Can you click on the tools and go through the process so they can actually see that it's of Aramaic descent of language?
Okay. So you guys see, wait, am I sharing? No, I'm not sharing. Okay. So hold on. Let me share it. Okay.
Some people may not know how to use the blue letter, so.
Oh, okay. So let me show one more time. I'll go all the way back. Give me a second. So when you have blue letter, and whatever verse you want to go to, you just go to the tools, hold your browser over tools. You don't have to, you can click it or hold your browser over it. And then you go to interlinear. And once you go to interlinear, you just go down on the left side and you just go down to the word you want to look at. Okay, so there it is, Bar-Jonah. And then I'm going to click on the number. Bam. Click that number. And then even over here, the root word, bar. Bar is of Aramaic origin. You see that? Okay. It's of Aramaic origin. Okay, so Bar Yonah means son of Jonah. Now, in the Hebrew, the way you say son of Jonah is Ben.
Ben Yonah.
Ben Yonah. Can anyone think of a verse where Ben is used instead of Bar? Or son of, if you look at son of,
it's all over the Torah when they go through genealogies.
mm-hmm.
When they talk about all the family and the lineage.
Yep. It's all over. Okay. So I just wanted to show you that distinction to show you how when the Israelites went into captivity, just to verify, when the Israelites went into captivity, and if you could see my screen here, when we're talking about the Septuagint, when the Israelites went into captivity, they lost their Hebrew language. Okay. And the first language they started to speak was Aramaic. Okay. We can see that also in the book of Ezra. And in the days of Artaxerxes, wrote Bishalam, Mithridath, Tabeel, and the rest of their companions unto Artaxerxes, king of Persia. And the writing of the letter was written in the Syrian tongue, or in other words, the Aramaic tongue. Okay. This is why when people say they spoke in other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance, come on and go with me here. It's an actual language. That's a whole different lesson.
That's a whole different lesson.
Whole different. That is a whole different lesson, y'all. Now, let me show you a little bit about the Hebrew and the Aramaic alphabet. You see that? Identical, isn't it? Okay. Aramaic is on the left. Hebrew is on the right. Identical, isn't it? So what's the difference, Pastor Benz? What's the difference? Who knows what the difference is?
It looked like the Aramaic language don't have the Kaf Sofit and the Nun Sofit and the Sadi Sofit and the Pe Sofit, but that's it. All the letters look the same.
They all look the same. So what's the difference? Why did they start speaking? Remember what we said earlier. Among the Israelites, Aramaic was used by the common people. Remember, it was the lingua. What was our word? Lingua
franca.
Lingua franca. That's what common language means.
The peasants.
Yep. Poor folk.
She said the peasants.
Right.
You know, we got Ebonics. That's what we do.
Okay. The hood. Okay. We spoke.
But even like Yiddish is like a different language. You know, it's Yiddish is a variation, right? Isn't that a different variation of
mixture of two to three different languages?
European language.
That's that European. That's that European
language.
Turkish.
No, I know, but isn't not similar to
Yep.
some other language?
It
That's
is.
all I was making that connection. That's all.
Oh no, it is. You're definitely right. So the Aramaic was used with the common folk, with the hood folk. Okay. But Hebrew was the language of religion. It was the language of the priest, and it was the language of the government and the upper class. You see that? Because the only people at that time that retained the Hebrew were the priests and the people that were in the government. Okay, Yeshua and the apostles, they spoke Aramaic. We already saw an example of that in Matthew 16:7. In Aramaic language translation, okay, if Do you want to know what an Aramaic translation is called? It's called a Targum. It's called a Targum. Okay. Now, the Targum was originally spoken. It was a spoken translation of the Hebrew Bible called the Tanakh. The Hebrew Bible is called the Tanakh, that professional translators would give in the common language of the listeners when that was not biblical Hebrew. Okay?
Can you explain that? So
Yes.
that, yeah.
And so it says it was originally spoken. It was a spoken translation of the Hebrew Bible, that professional translators. So you had scribes during this time that when the Bible was written, the Torah was written in Hebrew, but the translation of it was in Aramaic. And so they would look at the Hebrew language and they would translate it into Aramaic so that the listeners would be able to hear and understand the scriptures in the Aramaic.
But the Aramaic, that's an old language. That's not recorded now, right?
There's still copies of certain documents that are written in Aramaic. They're called Targums. Okay. Targum is a translation into Aramaic. And usually it's the translation of the Tanakh.
If we read the Bible, the one we read, the King James Version, that's English. But if this same Bible is in Hebrew, then it's called the Tanakh?
No. So the Tanakh is simply a description of Genesis to the book of Malachi.
Can you break that down?
Yes.
The
And so
the Torah, the prophets, and the
yes.
Yeah.
So you have the Tanakh, which is made up of 3 different sections. Okay. 3 parts of the Old Testament. And I'm going to put this in the chat so that we can definitely see it here. As soon as I get over here.
I never just see the lesson in the chat, but you sent them out to the email or something? This lesson?
Oh, yeah. I sent it to the text message.
Oh, text. Oh, got it. Okay, thanks.
Yep. And so, let me put this on my screen too. I'm going to put this, give me a second here. I'm going to put this on my screen. Okay. Hold on, guys. I'm just trying to organize this in the right way.
Yeah, the Tanakh is made up of the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. And that's the Torah and what he's writing.
I'm going to blow it up real quick. I just wanted to organize it a little bit. Change the font. Show me some love. Bang. Bang. And I'll blow it up. Okay, so the Tanakh, if you look at the first letters, oops. Hold on, let me do this the right way. This is good questions, guys. So you see these first letters here, okay? That begins each of these words, okay? So we have the Torah, the T, okay? We have the Torah, the T, and then we have the Nevi'im, this ending means plural, more than one. So that's why you have the prophets. A Nevi or Nevi is a prophet. Nevi'im are prophets. Okay. And then you have the Ketuvim, okay, which are the writings. So you have the T, the N, and the K. All right. And in Hebrew, there are no vowels right here. No vowels. However, if you were to add vowels, it would equal okay, it would equal this. So if you take this vowel out, both the A's, and then this sound, this is a sound here, to knock. Okay, that's why I put the H on it at the end. But you can just go here. And so you just take the vowels out and you have this. Add the vowels and you have Tanakh. And the Tanakh are the books from Genesis to Malachi, which is called, a lot of people call it the Old Testament. Okay.
I sent a visual to the group chat on our text as well.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one too. Yeah. Okay, so you guys see that? And then the visual that Sister Benz just sent in the text is a very good visual as well. Okay. So just remember, the Torah is the law. The Nevi'im are the prophets, and the Ketuvim are the writings. Okay, and so the writing, I don't know why they say this, but they include Daniel. I would include Daniel, Ezra, Nehemiah. I would include them in the prophets, y'all. But for some reason, they're not included in the prophets.
They're concluded as the writings.
As the writings, yes.
Okay.
But this is definitely the Tanakh. And that is exactly all that, look, watch this. Look at this guy. This is very interesting. When Yeshua came on the scene, did he have the New Testament? Did he have the book of Matthew all the way to Revelation?
No.
Nope. The only thing they had was the Tanakh, y'all. That's all they had. And so watch this. This is what's so interesting. From the time of the writing of the New Testament wasn't written during Paul's time. It wasn't even written during the book of Revelation. So all the apostles, the only thing they had was the Tanakh. So if all they had was the Tanakh, well, what are these people talking about? They started going to church on Sunday because of the resurrection. No, they had the Tanakh. And the Torah was still being followed. And that's why the book of John tells us that here are the patience of the saints. They that have the faith of Yeshua and keep the commandments of Yah. Okay. All right. And so what we're looking at, y'all, we're looking at, back to our lesson. What we're looking at is the language that the Israelites spoke and how when Alexander the Greek came in, he forced everyone to speak Greek. Okay. And this was something that was very, very powerful. Now, let's get back to when it says here, after these things, he fell sick. Alexander fell sick. He perceived that he would die. And so because he thought he was going to die, watch what he did. He called his servants to him, as such were honorable, and he had brought up that he were brought up with him from his youth. And then he parted his kingdom. Okay, so let's look at that because I want to show you a few things. All right. And so Daniel 8:21. I'm going to go back here to Daniel 8:21. And we already read this, but I want to go back here again, show you this. Okay, so Daniel, he was the king of Grecia or Greece. And I'm going to show you the kingdom that he took over. Look at all this area, all this green.
Change the screen, please.
Oh, sorry.
We don't see it.
Okay, so all this green, orange, blue, all these areas with colors, that was the empire of Alexander the Greek. Okay, it went all the way over to India, y'all. It went from Greece to India. My goodness. And I want to show you a map showing you just how large that is.
The yellow area too?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yep. All of that area. That's that down that area. That's Egypt. Took over all of Egypt.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you a map showing just how far his kingdom went. Okay, give me 1 second. I love maps, y'all. I'm a map fanatic. I'm a history.
I do too.
Let me show you under here. I'm gonna put the map under here. Yep, his kingdom was from Greece to India. So you see Greece circled right here in red. It went from here all the way down the Sudan, all the way down to Ethiopia, all the way across Iraq. Remember, that was Babylon. That was the kingdom of Babylon. That was Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. It took all of Turkey, which was Persia, considered Persia. Iran. Oh, Iran and Turkey was considered like the Persian area. Iraq, Babylon, all of this area, and then India all the way over here. Massive kingdom.
This little bitty circle of Greece, which is small, took over all of that.
All of this.
Man, weapons.
Go all the way down to over here, all the way over to. I wish there was a way that I could like draw on this. I don't know how to do that. I wish there was a way to. Yep, all of that. So if you look at this one again, okay. So you have Greece right here, took over all of this area. Okay. See if I can show you like this. Okay. Now, this is what's interesting about it, though. This is the interesting part, too. It said that, now let me keep playing this.
His servants bear rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Okay, so now they mention another person, Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay, so if you write Antiochus Epiphanes, notice who he was. He was the son of Antiochus, the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. Isn't that interesting? So his name, Antiochus, his name means something. And we need to see what that means. Okay. Because I want you guys to get a good understanding of what his Greek name means before we go on talking about this. All right. So if we were to break down Antiochus, okay, so what word do you see in Antiochus? Is there a word that you see in Antiochus?
Anti.
Anti, right? So now, what does anti mean?
Against.
Okay. Now we just have to figure out, what does Acus mean? Okay. What does Acus mean? And remember, we have to look this up in the Greek. Okay. Because he was Greek. And we definitely need to make sure that we look that up in the Greek. Does anyone have an idea?
You mean like a Greek translator?
Yes.
So I Googled it.
Okay, cool. That's good. That's good.
And it says against support.
Yes.
Resistance.
Now, resist. Come on now. Watch this. Go back to
Stubborn or resistance.
Yes. Now go back to Malachi, but Maccabees. See where it says in verse 10, his father was what? He was a hostage at Rome. So who do you think Antiochus was against and putting up resistance towards?
His father.
Well, what?
Alexander the Greek.
What's the relationship between Greek and Rome? Let me ask that.
So that's an awesome question. So Greek and Rome during this time were vying for power.
Okay.
But remember, Alexander was more powerful than all of these kingdoms during this time. Remember it said in Maccabees that he went through all the kingdoms and destroyed them.
Right.
Now, why did he destroy them? He destroyed them because it was prophesied that he would. But as far as Rome is concerned, as they were fighting, they took Antiochus' father as hostage. That's what it said in 10. See that? And there came out of them a wicked root, which was Antiochus, which means revolution or against.
Against the Greek because his father was a hostage in Rome.
No, against Rome because his father, remember, Antiochus was a Greek.
Right, he was a Greek, but his father
he wasn't against Greek. He was against Rome because they took his father as a hostage.
That's what I said. He was against Rome because his father was a hostage there.
Absolutely.
So that's why he would be considered a wicked root for Greek. He was wicked within Greek because he was against Greek. You said he was a wicked root.
Well, he was a wicked root because of what we're going to be reading about what he did next.
Okay.
But just his name. So even when we look at his father, he was named after his father. And so we know that if his father was taken hostage, we know that his father was also fighting against Rome. And so when you go back to the first Antiochus the First, then we know that his family had a history of fighting against Rome or being a resistance against Rome. That's where they got their names from, Antiochus. Are y'all with me? Or is that confusing?
No, I get it.
Okay. All right. So now watch this. When Daniel parted his kingdom, he departed to what is called the Diadache. The Diadache. The Diadache means were a group of rival generals, their families and friends of Alexander the Greek. Let me change that. Alexander the Greek, who fought for control over his empire after he died. So Alexander divided his kingdom up. He gave it to his generals. But after Alexander died, they started fighting to see who could unify all the kingdom again, like Alexander did. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So let's look at the four major kings and kingdoms. But let's listen to, so we see here where it said he divided up, verse 10, and there came out, or actually, let's see. Yep, 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, son of Antiochus king, who was a hostage in Rome, and they reigned in the kingdom, and they reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Okay, now watch this. We have the first one. The first ruler after Alexander died that came after Alexander was Ptolemy. Guys, please don't pronounce this Ptolemy. Okay? The P is silent. The P is silent, y'all. So it's just Ptolemy.
Yes, sir. No Ptolemy.
Ptolemy, right? No, it's Ptolemy.
Are you showing this on a document or on the Maccabees?
Sorry about that. It's just like the word. Okay, now I'm gonna say something. Now, when you look at this word right here, how do you pronounce that word?
Lasagna.
I spelled it wrong. Hold on.
Lasagna.
What word is silent?
The G.
Or what letter is silent?
The G.
Okay, so let me do this. Real, watch this. Real G's are silent, dog.
Okay.
Come on, Kevin. Real G's are silent, man.
I like it. Let's go.
Nothing else. Okay. Don't talk about it.
Right. So just like in lasagna, all right, you don't say lasagna. Lasagna, no. It's not Ptolemy, it's Ptolemy. So Ptolemy was one of the rulers, and he ruled over Macedonia. Okay, a Macedonian. He was in control of Egypt. So he took the area of Egypt. Cassander was another ruler. Cassander warred over Alexander's empire following his death. Cassander later seized the power, having Alexander's son, an heir of Alexander the Fourth, murdered. You see that, y'all? People you think are your homies when you living, you think they're close to you when you living, but boy, after you pass away, you don't know what they'll do to your family, how they'll talk to your children, how they'll treat them. Look how they treated Alexander's son. This general who was close to him, a comrade in arms, murdered Alexander's son, and he ruled over Macedonia. You see that? Antigonus briefly emerged as the most powerful of the Didache. He ruled over Greece, Asia Minor, Syria, Phoenicia, and northern Mesopotamia. Seleucus rose from being a secondary player to becoming the total ruler of Asia Minor. Now, let's go back to our map so we can see the areas that we're talking about. Actually, I'm going to go to this map here. Okay. So
I have a question. I'm sorry, and I don't
Oh,
mean to
no,
throw
it's
you
okay.
off.
No, it's
So,
okay.
so the Antiochus is Antioch, the church of Antioch was named after this person. They were Hellenized, correct?
Yes, they were.
Because Antioch is like the whole word is like a root of Antiochus.
That's a good question. I'm not sure if the Church of Antioch was named after him. Can someone Google that?
I looked something up, which is why it came up, and that's why I was asking. I don't know what source this is, but anyway, I don't want to take you too off track. Go ahead. My bad.
What did it say? Well, you got me interested in that now.
It's okay. Go ahead. I'll bring it up later because I want to get the rest of this.
Oh, okay. All right. So if you can see this map, so see where the circles, they have these circles. Okay. So Seleucus was in charge of this area here. Antigonus was in charge of this area. Ptolemy was in charge of Egypt. Then we have Cassander was in charge of this area here. Lysander and Lysimachus, they were in charge of the same area, but Cassander beat out Lysimachus and eventually took over that area as well. So you have these 4 generals. Now, guess which one of these kingdoms did Antiochus come out of? Take a guess. You got 25% to get it right.
Antigonus.
Swing, batter. Swing and a miss. Anyone else?
Repeat the question, please.
Which one of these kingdoms did Antiochus come out of? Okay. He came out of the Seleucid Empire. Okay. And the Seleucid Empire, came out of the Seleucid Empire. Antiochus Epiphanes was a Greek king of the Seleucid Empire who reigned over Syria from 175 BC to 164. He is famous for almost conquering Egypt. So watch this. Antiochus came out of the Seleucid Empire and he began his reign. And he is the one that precipitated or that caused the Maccabean revolt, which we are going to be getting to. Okay, we're going to get to the Maccabean revolt. Antiochus Epiphanes was a ruthless and often capricious ruler. His name is Antiochus IV. Okay, and we talked about that when we talked about his name, anti or resistance. They were resisting Rome and their oppression. And so he was the 4th one. His father was the 3rd. And so there were 2 that came before his father, and they had been fighting against Rome since that time, and they were resisting them. All right. Now, his name, Antiochus Epiphanes, means God manifest. Epiphanes means God manifest. Have you ever heard people say, oh, they had an epiphany?
Yes.
Have you guys heard that? Okay, they're what they don't realize is that they're calling on the name of Antiochus Epiphanes, which means God manifest or illustrious one. Okay, and so right here you can see that this word in Greek means illustrious one or God manifest. All right, so Antiochus, when he took over Egypt, he was like, Oh, I see you guys make your kings gods after they die. Well, Antiochus said, well, I'm a god right now while I'm living. I'm God manifest right now. All right. He wanted to be greater than Egypt or the Egyptians. But he was also known as Epiphanes. Okay. Epiphanes means madman, crazy one. And that's exactly what he was. All right. So let's listen to the rest of it. I want you to listen here, guys. We're almost done.
Went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were.
So what he's saying here is that the Israelites, look what it says in 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men. So look, guys, our ancestors, some of our ancestors who were being persecuted, instead of being suffering with everybody, they left and they persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen. Let's make a covenant with Antiochus and them. Let's make an agreement with them, because we don't want to suffer no more. We don't want to resist. We don't want to fight to keep our culture. We don't want to fight to keep our language and our heritage. Let's just go and integrate. Come on and go with me here and integrate with the enemy. You see how that works?
What's the other one?
Assimilate.
Assimilate. And
Assimilate with the enemy.
Assimilate.
You see how that works?
Adaptation.
Notice what they called them: wicked. These were wicked individuals. Now, it would behoove us to think about our leaders. We have a history of our leaders wanting to assimilate and integrate. Now, I know many of you, we hail Martin Luther King as a great man, don't we? We say that he's one of our greatest leaders. But what would he be considered in Yah's eyes if he wanted to integrate into a people?
An assimilator.
Come on and go with me now. See, we've been programmed to think in a non-biblical way. And therefore, we're confused and don't know who the hell we are. Oh, yes. Because we will all say, and even I would say it, not now. Martin Luther King was great, but was he following Torah? What are we measuring greatness by? Are we measuring it based on if you follow the Torah? That's what Yeshua said. He who follows the Torah, keep the commandments, will be called great in the kingdom. Didn't he say that? Didn't Yeshua say that? See, we don't want this smoke. We don't want this heat. See, because I'm coming against all this buffoonery, all of this assimilation. Go to Matthew 5:19, because see, y'all think I'm playing around. Look, some of y'all know I'm not playing, but there are some people and some preachers, I should say, they playing with y'all, telling y'all stories and fables. Having Black History Month up in the church with Martin Luther King. Watch this. When the book says, whosoever therefore shall break, well, let me go back. Verse 17. Think not that I am come, Yeshua said, to destroy the law. Remember I talked about this, what destroying and fulfilling means? Destroying means to not interpret the law correctly, not interpret the commandments correctly, to have a mediocre or a less than interpretation. It is an inaccurate interpretation. That's what it means to destroy the law. Yeshua said, think not that I didn't come to destroy it. I didn't come to give you the wrong interpretation. I came to give you the right interpretation. That's why they called him a great teacher. Think not that I come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy the Tanakh, but I've come to fulfill it. For verily I say unto you, heaven and earth will not pass away until one jot, one tittle from the law, till it be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and then teach men to do so, he shall be called least in the kingdom. Now, did King teach to follow the Torah? No. You cannot read in any of King's sermons or writings that he taught to keep Sabbath. As a matter of fact, his daddy was a pastor of a church that gathered and broke the Shabbat. Come on and go with me here. That Martin Luther King got his name. He was named after Martin Luther, who watch this, who nailed 95 theses or disagreements with the Catholic Church on the wall of Wittenberg, of the Church of Wittenberg, sorry. And the wall of Wittenberg was simply means this, guys. It was a place on this church where all announcements were made. Okay. And so Martin Luther nailed 95 disagreements with the Catholic Church on the Church of Wittenberg. And out of all those 95 disagreements, the Sabbath wasn't on there. And King's daddy named him after the man who supported being against the Shabbat. So we know that his daddy didn't keep Shabbat. We know his daddy didn't keep Shabbat. We know King was not taught to keep Shabbat, and therefore he was a commandment breaker, and he taught men to do so as well. And the scripture says he should be called least in the kingdom, but we call him great. See, we turned around. You see that? Yeah, we're turned around. So now watch this. Watch this. Let's get back to the matter at hand, because I want to show you something about Daniel. Daniel 11, chapter 11. Let's go there real quick. We're almost done, guys. Daniel 11, chapter 11. And verse 11. All right. So we're going to go from verse 11 to verse 19. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. Now, the king of the north was Alexander. Okay. And he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. And when he had taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and shall cast down many 10,000s. But watch this, he shall not be strengthened by it. For the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army, with much riches. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of the people, of thy people, shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. So the king of the north, which was Alexander, and eventually not Nebuchadnezzar, but Antiochus Epiphanes. So the king of the north shall come and cast up a mount and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength to withstand. But they that cometh against him shall do according to his own will. Watch this. Go back to the book of Maccabees. In those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go up and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we have departed from them, we had much sorrow. You see how that's saying the same thing as the book of Daniel. Verse 16, but he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him. And he shall stand in the glorious land, which by his hand shall be consumed. Watch what he does. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do. These are the things he's going to do. And he shall give him, watch this, from the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither before him. After this shall he turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many, but the prince of his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach, he shall cause it to turn upon him. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. Let me say this, y'all. You look at this. In the act of complete disrespect, Antiochus, he vandalized the temple in Jerusalem, stealing its treasures, setting up an altar to Zeus, and sacrificing swine or pig on the altar. All right, let's listen a little bit more. Let's listen a little bit more to confirm that.
Was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness.
Hold on.
Sinful, license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant. And
all right, let me just say a little bit about this. See what verse 14, whereupon they built a place of exercise. It was called the gymnasium. Okay, look up gymnasium on Google, the Greek gymnasium, and you're going to see. I couldn't show the pictures. I didn't want to put any pictures of it up here because it's too just foul, y'all. All right, but look up the gymnasium in Greeks, and you'll see all kinds of things. They were naked in the gymnasium, y'all. As a matter of fact, the first Olympic Games in Greece, many of the events were done in the nude. Wrestling, fencing, the javelin, the track and field, it was all done in the nude. All right. And what they would do, see where 15 it says, and they made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant to join themselves to the heathen. Okay, there's this thing called, I can't remember what it's called, but there is a way to uncircumcise yourself. Did you guys know that? I can't remember.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
So that's not metaphorical?
No, I mean, it could be metaphorical, but there was an actual, and I need to look it up in my what is it called? I did a study on this. Oh, look up oh, here it is right here. I just saw it. Epispasm. Hold on. Let me share this article with you. It's called Epispasm, Circumcision in Reverse by Robert G. Hall. Any uncircumcised male who is not circumcised on the flesh of his foreskin shall cut off. Okay, so that's Genesis 17, right? Read this article. You guys can read this article. It's circumcision in reverse. Okay. Let's see. Okay, look right here. Hellenistic. Let me make this larger. Hellenistic and Roman societies widely practice public nakedness, but they abhorred bearing the tip of the penis. Okay, called the glands. To expose the glands or the tip of the penis was considered vulgary. So you can show everything else except the tip. It was considered vulgary, humorous, indecent, or both. This combination of attitude could be and often was devastating for circumcised Israelites. Okay? For our ancestors. Enjoying oneself, watch this, enjoying oneself in a Greek gymnasium or Roman bath, which was both, you're supposed to be naked, where nudity was de rigueur, was a popular and stylish pastime. Here, politics was discussed and business deals concluded. Athletic contests and exhibitions were also conducted in the nude, y'all. Participation in athletics was often a prerequisite for social advancement. Yet, a circumcised penis effectively precluded this participation. So if you wanted to advance in society, you would participate in any sporting event as a pathway to success, but you had to do it in the nude. Why? So that they could see whether you were circumcised or not. And so what would happen is Jews who wanted to participate in society, in the Greek society, look at this next paragraph. Consequently, for hundreds of years, some Israelites underwent a surgical procedure known as epispasm, an operation that corrected the circumcised penis, y'all. Some might call it circumcision in reverse. Okay? So you see that.
So some of the scriptures that I always felt were metaphorical as far as the circumcision of your heart and the New Testament that Paul is talking about is actually happening in, like, some of it is probably metaphorical when it's talking about your heart, but some of it is literal. That is amazing. Oh my God. Mic drop. Mind blowing.
Oh, yes. Now watch this. Watch what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 7, chapter 7, verse 18. Is any man called being circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. You see that? Paul said, let him not become uncircumcised. He said, don't do this epispasm. Is any called uncircumcised? Let him not be circumcised. Paul says, wait a minute. Look at this part right here. He says, if any is called being circumcised, let him not become uncircumcised. What is Paul talking about here? He's talking about this practice of epispasm. Okay. Operation of correcting a circumcised penis. So many of our ancestors, y'all, because they wanted to participate and advance in this Greek society, they joined themselves to the heathen. Are y'all with me? You see that? You see what they did?
Horrific.
And because they wanted to participate in the customs of the heathen by going to the gym, being naked, having a penis uncircumcised in reverse. I don't know where they got the skin from. They made themselves uncircumcised and they forsook the holy covenant.
Joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crown, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold, and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned. The virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there. And so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and every one should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
All right. I want to say this, y'all. The same thing that Daniel was dealing with, the same thing that the Maccabees were dealing with, Mattatyahu was dealing with, is the same thing that we got to deal with today. Here you have a tyrannical government that was taking their culture, their identity, their feast days, their Shabbats, and it was affecting their children. Even the parents began not to circumcise their children. Their parents began teaching the ways of the world, of the heathen, to their children. And that's the same thing that's happening today. The same exact craziness is happening today. Watch what it says in Daniel 9:27. It's going to confirm everything we read in the book of Maccabees. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of that week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. For the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Watch what Daniel 11:31 says. An arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolation and that maketh desolate, and such shall do wickedly against the covenant, shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. We're going to get to this do exploits when we talk about the people that know their God shall do exploits. We're going to talk about that with the Maccabean family, with Mattiyahu and his sons. We're going to talk about that when we talk about the hidden figures. All right. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword, by the flame, and by the captivity of the fall. We're going to get to that, but I want to show you this. All of these things happened, y'all. And the Israelites fell into it. It said he tried to make all the people one. Isn't that what they're trying to do today? Where you can't have any distinctions. You can't show that you're different from anyone, that they want you to be the same. Even when you look at the Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. What is it? One nation. And they have the unmitigated gall to bring our Yah into it. And one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty. Liberty for who? And justice for who? Not us. And so Israelites, I want to show you this. Israelites everywhere were ordered to sacrifice to the pagan gods and to eat pig flesh. And they even sacrificed it on the altar, as we read about. And so, guys, I want to tell you that the same things that our ancestors were fighting for during this Maccabean revolt is the same things we're fighting for today. The same exact things. We can't even say we're Israelites today. We can't even practice Shabbat. Go to your job. They don't want you to take off Shabbat. You got people who question you. Why do you celebrate Shabbat on Saturday? And they don't know nothing. And so why should we even care about what they think? As a matter of fact, I wish somebody would say that to me. I'm going to give them such a tongue lashing and let loose on them, because what they're trying to do is the same thing that Antiochus did. They got the nerve that they don't even worship Yah, but they're questioning us on why we worship, and not just worship, but why we honor and keep Shabbat. I wish somebody would question me on that. All right. And so we see here that Antiochus burned the Torah, y'all. He burned it. Can you smell it? Can you smell it, y'all? Can you smell it burning? Can you smell the pages burning during Antiochus's time and during our time? Right? One of the things that we got to realize is that if you're not for us, you're against us. See, we haven't grasped that yet. Listen, I don't care who you are. If you ain't for me, you against me. If you don't support what I do with the Torah, you against me. Who said that? Who even said that? If you're not for us, you're against it. Is that biblical? Who said that?
I don't remember, but it's in the Bible.
Yes, it is. Go to 1 John. Go to 1 John 2. I'll go there for you. 1 John. See, you got to understand the reason why I do and act the way I act. See, many of y'all don't understand, and some people don't understand the way I act and what I do because you don't know the scriptures. And when you don't know the scriptures, you question my behavior.
1 John who?
Yep, 2:19. Actually, go to 2:18. Little children, it is the last time. And as you have heard, the Antichrist shall come. That means people who are against Yeshua. All right? You are against Yeshua if you worship another God. You are against Yeshua if you deny that he exists. You are against Yeshua if you don't worship him. You're against him. And guess what? You have heard that the Antichrist shall come. Not just the Antichrist, but that Antichrist. It says that Antichrist, not the Antichrist, but watch what it says here. Shall come. Even now, there are many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. Watch what 19 says. They went out from among us, but they were not of us. I don't care who you are. For if they had been of us, they would not doubt. They would have no doubt, have continued with us. But they went out, that they might be made manifest that they were not all of us. But you have, watch this, an unction from the Holy Ghost, the Holy One. And you know all things. Okay? And so he's saying here that there are antichrists. There are people that are anti what we believe, and they're not of us, y'all. They are not of us. I don't know who they are. Now watch this. Can I bust you in the head again? I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 30, because I gave you that one because I wanted to show you, but I'm going to give you this one. Matthew chapter 12, and we're going to go here. And here we go. Now this is Yeshua. He that is not with me is against me. And he that gathered not with me scattereth abroad. Look, check this out, man. Don't be questioning my actions. Don't be questioning what I say to people who don't believe like me. Yeshua said, he that is not with me is against me. Listen, man. If you ain't rolling with me, you against me. If you ain't supporting me, you against me. Straight up. And listen, I'm not backing down. I'm not going to lay down. Nope. I'm not. Because if you ain't, watch this, Yeshua said, if you ain't with me, you against me. And I want to tell you this. There are many people who will say with their mouth, I'm with you. I got you. But their actions and in their heart, they're against you. And every now and then you'll see it. It'll pop up every now and then. And they'll say, oh, I didn't mean that. Or, oh, that's not. No, dang it. Yes, you did mean it. You grown. We grown out here. We ain't kids. We make decisions. Watch this. Listen, check this out, man. When you come against me, you're going to get the wrath that the scriptures bring. I'm not, listen, and that's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about. Next time, when we talk about the hidden figures, that's what we're going to talk about, y'all. Because there were many that kept the commands of Yah. And those were the real believers. Many fell. Many followed Antiochus. Many went to the gym, got naked, got butt naked, showed their little wing ding. See, I'm not circumcised no more. Check mine. Nuh-uh. I don't want your money. I don't want your advancement. Yah is my advancement, y'all. And that's who I'm going for. And if you ain't coming with me, you're going against me. And when you go against me, listen, you ain't going against me. You going against who I serve. Come on and go with me here. You going against who I serve. I want that to burn in your head. If you ain't with me, if you don't agree with what I teach, oh, I'm going here. If you don't agree with what I teach, because what I'm teaching is straight biblical. I ain't playing with y'all. What I'm teaching is biblical. And those of you who went against me, I'm talking now. I'm talking to some folk now. Those of you who went against me saying, oh, you don't know how to teach us. You ain't teaching us right. Oh, teaching that the diet, that the biblical diet is fruit and vegetables. You ain't teaching us right. For those of you who left, if you ain't with me, you against me and you against my God. And I'm coming for your neck straight up. I'm coming for your neck with this word. And I ain't playing. And that's for anybody that want to stand against me and my Yah when I'm standing for him. If you ain't with me, you against me. And that's what, watch this, y'all. That's the mentality we got to have. Because when we read in this first Maccabees, when we read it, you're going to see who stood up. You remember what Moses said? What did Moses say? Oh, I'm about to take y'all somewhere now. Y'all remember what he said? What did he say, y'all? Y'all know the story of the golden calf? Come on, y'all remember that story? That wasn't just a story, that was history. That was in Genesis 32. Yep, Genesis 32, the golden calf. Wait, was that Genesis or was it Exodus? That was Exodus 32. I said Genesis, that was Exodus 32. I'm gonna show y'all this and we're done. Because I need this to come out because we need to understand what the Maccabean revolt was all about and why we celebrate Hanukkah today. Because there were men that were willing to kill for what they believe. Oh my goodness. See, y'all ain't ready for this. There were men that were in Yeshua. Yeshua validated the fight to rededicate the temple by going into that temple and celebrating those that came against our Yah. Now watch this. Watch this. Because see, I'm going in today because I'm sick and tired of cowing down and bowing down and folk who don't know nothing about the word got something to tell me, who don't even study and put the time in. How dare you? How dare you have so much pride and arrogance? Watch this. Show y'all this. And when Moses saw that the people were naked, showing a little penis, see, I'm not circumcised, were naked, Aaron had made them naked. Look at that. Unto their shame among the enemies. Then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, who is on the Lord's side? Hallelujah. Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together to him. And he said unto them, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, put every man his sword by his side. He said, take your sword out. Take it out of the sheath and put it by your side. And go in and out from the gate to gate throughout the camp and kill every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and there fell of the people that day 3,000 men and women. But Moses has said, consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, even every man upon his son and upon his brother, that he may bestow upon him you a blessing. You see that? Moses told those Israelites, look, I ain't playing with y'all today. I'm sick of y'all mess. I'm sick of y'all complaining against me. Moses said, I'm sick of y'all degrading me. Moses said, I'm sick of y'all disrespecting me. Moses said, he said in verse 26, who is on the Lord's side? Got me twisted. Yeshua said, he that is not with me is against me. You got me twisted. And I'm saying today, if you disagree with what I teach, because I am teaching the word, don't you dare say everybody can make mistakes. That ain't have nothing to do with it. Nothing. If you disagree with what I teach, I'm coming for your neck. Coming for your neck. With this word, I'm coming. I ain't holding no prisoners. And I will protect the crib. So don't even think about coming up in this joint. I will protect the crib. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, yes, I will protect the crib. Okay? And so I want y'all to know today, we look, this Hanukkah, it ain't all about gifts and lighting candles only. Y'all got this thing twisted. It's about revolt and revolution and killing to protect our way of life. There was somebody that said, would you die for the faith? No, but I will kill for it. Come on and go with me here. See, you don't have that mentality. You don't even know about this mentality because you programmed to be a slave. Oh, no, you're not supposed to kill. Listen, I'm a kill to protect this way of life. Did you hear what I said? That means if somebody, listen, I ain't going to initiate nothing, but I'm going to do self-defense. I'm going to defend this faith. If you ain't for me, if you disagree with what I teach, I'm coming. Because listen, what you are doing is you are actively promoting a first strike of war when you come against the teachings of the scripture. And because I am a teacher of the scripture, when you disagree with me, I'm coming for your neck. Blessings. Shabbat Shalom. Sameach Chanukah. Hallelujah. Yep, that's where it is, family. And that's the essence of Chanukah. Okay? Striving for righteousness and holiness at all times. Absolutely. It is a righteous act and a holy act to defend the Torah. And that's exactly what Chanukah. Yes, sir. It's exactly what Chanukah means. Blessings. Oh, yes.
Blessings.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.